Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Liam Zollo, your host from Fitted Health and Fitness Summit. I'm super excited to bring our guest today, Simon Ruse. Simon Ruse is from Fluid Physio. He's operating out of Yamba, New South Wales. Now I just moved up to this little town of Yamba, and then all people around here in the gym circuits have been talking about this guy called Simon Ruse, one of the great physios who trains ski professionals and actually gone and spent some time in the Winter Olympics as well. Isn't that right, Simon? So welcome.
Thank you, Liam.
Thank you for donating your time, buddy.
Yeah.
I think it's really valuable bringing you in today because just to see from more of a clinical side,
Yep.
As a physio perspective of how we can improve our life.
Yeah.
I want to touch on a couple of subjects today with this concept of prehab
Yep.
and injury prevention as well. But first I want to start with, what are some common injuries that you get through your practice?
Yeah. Well, Liam, thanks for asking me to come along, and it's great to be here. And me personally, as a physio, we're so excited to get people back into exercise, because if we can give the world a pill that would, help chronic illnesses, chronic joint problems, that one pill would be exercise. So we're not talking about anything from a pharmaceutical company. That thing would be exercise. And so the thing that often stops people from exercising is an injury.
Exactly right.
So the things that we would commonly see for people is low back pain, and there's a host of things that can cause pain in the lower back, but sometimes more easily fixed than people understand.
Mm-hmm.
We commonly see neck pain, we see knee pain, we see hip pain, we see tendon pain, which is something that's being better understood now, and the ultimate goal really of any physio or health practitioner is to get people back active again. And if an injury is stopping you from being active and stopping you from exercising, it's stopping you from being healthy, and we need to address that or look at some better options to kind of get you exercising.
Yeah, awesome. So what are the reasons? I mean, there's obviously different reasons, but there's the overuse injuries are coming into play.
Yeah.
Is it because of sitting? I mean, sitting is considered the new smoking.
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah. So, there was an interesting piece of work done that suggested that physical inactivity or a low fitness level is a bigger killer than smoker diabetes.
Oh,
so
really?
smoking, diabetes and obesity combined, having a lower physical fitness was more of a killer than those three things combined.
Wow.
So that's a pretty significant finding.
Definitely.
Now I think as in our society, as our jobs become more specialised, we may spend more time sitting, more time being physically inactive. A lot of work can be done in front of a computer, on a laptop these days, and it's a competitive world, so people find it harder to get out and get their physical activity in, and if they're carrying an injury, that may be one more barrier to stop them to getting out and doing it.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So, like from a athletics point of view, like I've had spent some time with the Rabbitohs and second grade and their under 20s.
Yep.
And there's this concept of prehab that comes into play, because I got to work alongside a physio and bring players back from injury in a safe format. And we had a big range of movements that we considered to be part of our prehab. Now I know it's a big thing to cover, but what essentially is this prehab thing from a physio's perspective?
Well, I think for the things that we just spoke about, where an injury might stop someone from participating in sport or participating in life or exercising in some way, preventing an injury is surely more important than trying to fix it. So prevention being better than cure. So we look at prehab in that sense. We want to try and say, well, okay, we understand the risks of, say for a specific sport, we understand the risks of rugby or the risks of AFL football or the risks of soccer, and we're going to give you exercises so you're less likely to end up injured. And those exercises, so you don't get injured, we call them prehabilitation, so you don't need to do rehabilitation later. That's the purpose of prehab. Exactly
right. So do you offer that prehab to your people for the ski? And you guys were in the ski the last Olympics, is that right?
Yeah. So I've attended 2 Winter Olympic Games now with the Australian team, and the first Youth Winter Olympic Games in Austria as well. And we have a great strength and conditioning and sports science team. We have a great medical team and physiotherapy team. And together, our ultimate goal is to not see the athletes get injured. And that is using correct sports science and exercise science and prehabilitation principles, and some load monitoring, physiotherapy screenings. So working closely with the docs to prevent illness as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some really important strategies to employ there, and if you can keep people uninjured, then they're going to perform better.
Exactly right. So we've touched on prehab, right?
Yep.
It's going to be inevitable that some people are going to be having injuries,
Yeah.
and that's why they come and see you. That's
Yep.
going to be inevitable, right? So, but at the same time, we can still train with an injury,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest limitation that
Yeah.
people are facing now. They think that they have a limitation of having an
Yeah.
injury, and they think they should
Yeah.
they should stop altogether. Is that true? Or?
Yeah. Look, I think you always want to find any way that you can to maintain aerobic capacity, maintain the physical fitness of the rest of the body, and rest as appropriate the injured part. So sometimes, in fact, sometimes with some injuries, you don't need total rest. You might need a bit of a break from the activity that's aggravating, but there's certainly ways, and I think this is really important as well, because we're seeing sometimes these injuries happen to people who've had a previous injury, and then they come back and they're actually deconditioned because they've had complete rest, and we don't want that. So we have to find ways that we can maintain their load, like maintain a physical stimulus on them through that period where they've had their injury, as long as it's not at detriment to their injury. And those people tend to do better, return to higher performance earlier, and stay in the game, and are less likely to get injured later.
Yeah. And I agree with that, because when I was at the Bears, I had to really condition one guy, and his name was Sonny Lange, and he came back from a knee injury, and I had to find ways to keep his cardiovascular levels up with coming back from a knee reco.
Yes.
So some of the things we did was, like, we had him in the knee brace and then get him on the rower, so that was completely immobilized.
Yeah.
And what we found is that he came back to training a lot faster with his cardio.
Yeah.
And there's another example with Greg Peterson. I was speaking to him the other day. He's a USA rugby union player.
Yes.
He's got a shoulder injury as well.
Yes.
And he was saying that what he's doing now is just getting on the bike.
Yeah.
He's doing something. He's doing 10 kilometres on the bike, and then he's doing slight hikes and getting himself in different formats so he can go back to return to play. So
yeah, certainly. Well, I've got a similar story. Very talented mogul skier, Australia's best mogul skier, Matthew Graham, currently second in the world. He had an elbow injury. He won't mind me saying hi, Matt. And he worked really hard with strength and conditioning and sports science. When he was recovering from his elbow and he couldn't ski to the level that he needed to for proper training, and he really worked on those areas that he didn't get to work on when he was in full training for skiing. So he actually came back a lot stronger and a lot fitter, and he actually used the injury as an opportunity to improve his physical parameters, such that now he's back into the sport, he's feeling bomb-proof. And so that was a really good story of turning an injury into an opportunity.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think athletes can look at that, and people in everyday life can look at that as well. Like, how can this actually be a wake-up call, or how can it be a way for me to just change my approach to what I've been doing? You know? So for your regular person, okay, I'm sitting in the office too much. Okay, I'm not getting out for my walks, or I've been doing too much of this and not enough of that. And sometimes you just need to reset the balance,
Yeah. And what I like about that is, and you touched on it then, and the thing to sum that up is self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I think that people must have some form of self-awareness about them, having an injury and trying to prevent it, or if they're feeling like they've got in niggles, to having that self-talk in some ways to try and improve that, and not to stay in that continuous limiting belief.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think this is a really interesting topic, because we've got this thing where we want self-reliance. We want people to be autonomous beings, in that they can kind of manage their own life and manage their own injuries, or stop themselves from getting injuries. But sometimes those people need the permission from a position of authority, someone who knows, and an expert, to say, you know what, it's okay for you to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to help you do it. So that's where a personal trainer, a skilled personal trainer, a sports physiotherapist, a skilled exercise scientist or exercise physiologist, they can give you good advice. A dietitian, these folk, a sports physician, these folk can give you great advice, but it's still up to you. So definitely. We sort of want to work as a team to get the best outcome, and but as any person, if you got something that's worrying you, it's good to take action on it, whether you're doing it, whether you speak up to someone and say, hey, I've got this thing, should I worry about it? And it's important to know when we need to worry and when we just can press on. I'll put one more point in there, that one of the ways that we worry about people getting injured is if they're overloaded. And when you're overloaded, you feel grumpy, you feel tired, maybe you're not sleeping well, maybe you're sleeping too much, you're more emotional than usual. Like, there are a few little telltale signs that if you've lived with an athlete, or if you've lived with someone who pushes themselves hard, you can just tell when they need a break. And you need to understand that as a person too, and that's okay. It's better to be on the course than to be boom bust. You want to be on the course. And there's a classic saying with your marathon running programs, if you just stick to the program, well, that's pretty good. Like, somewhere you tend to need to make an adjustment because you've had a big week or didn't get much sleep because the kids were awake. There's always a reason why sometimes things need to be adjusted. We're not telling people to cop out. We're not saying don't do the work. We're saying adjust it intelligently. And listen to your body.
Exactly.
Be self-aware. Be self-aware.
Be self-aware. Awesome. So can we go through some example of pre-op exercises that people can do at home for themselves to try and prevent injury? So I think, look, prehabilitation in itself is a pretty huge topic, and definitely.
Often with your prehabilitation you want prehab that is specific to the sport that you're dealing with. In life in general, as we talked about, lower back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain too. There's a couple of nice ones that I like as a bit of a flow in the morning, or something that just gets you moving before you're doing an exercise session, or even if you don't have time, just get up and go through some gentle mobility exercises and light strengthening and muscle activation. And these can be applicable to any person. I'm certainly not saying this is the be-all and end-all for prehab, but just a bit of a brainstorm of some ideas. And
definitely.
Happy to do that.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome. Okay, Simon, so we're talking about prehab. First of all, we'll go through some general pop exercises that people can do at home to help prevent injury.
For sure. So we're talking sometimes for the general population, for most people, low back pain is an issue. And so one of my things with low back pain is sometimes we don't want to train the lower back. Like, we do want to make it healthier and have it move better and have some strength around it, but sometimes you don't need to train the back for that. You want to get flexibility in the hips, flexibility in the upper back, learn how to use the core correctly, and learn how to use the buttocks and hamstrings, and learn good movement patterns. I get worried if people worry too much about their backs. I mean, there are some things that do need more attention than others. That's when you speak to a professional. But here's a couple of easy ones that, in the morning, really easy. Get up, get loose, maybe have a shower, and then some simple stretches that I tend to find helps a lot of lower backs. So I can probably
need it.
Yeah. Let me show you some easy ones. So the first one which I do is a hip flexor stretch. So you just come down onto one knee, and that leg goes out in front. And the little trick here is to make sure you do what we call a posterior tilt of the pelvis. So we're going to tilt the pelvis this way.
So twisted.
Yeah, we're going to kind of tuck the buttocks under, contracting the buttocks, and you should feel, there you go. We just got an or, which means he's feeling the stretch now. So we're getting a strong but comfortable stretch in the front of the left thigh, and it shouldn't be causing him any back pain, any back symptoms at all. No back symptoms, but a strong stretch in the front of the thigh. Because what a lot of people do is they'll do this, and then they'll do this, and that's not stretching the front of your hip. You've got to get that posterior tilt, and that'll stretch the front of the thigh. Yeah, it's cool. And you hold that for about 45 seconds, then you repeat to the other side. So that's really easy, nice opening hip stretch. Have a stand up for me, mate. So there's one. The other one which I like is to open up the upper back, and that's really simple as well. We just do an open book. We can do an open book exercise, or we can do a windmill exercise. Yep. And if I'm being really strict, I'm getting people to kick their knees together, but sometimes that can put a bit of pressure on your back, so you're allowed to cheat a little bit, and you're allowed to open up as long as you're getting your shoulder blades together, as long as you're getting some movement in your upper back, yeah? So there's that one, or it can be that one, and I'm adding breath because I want the ribs to move. I want the ribs to move because the ribs are a big part of how the thoracic spine, how the upper back moves. You want to have a go?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. So what, bend at the knees?
Yeah, I'm going to bend your knees all the way up, right? I'm going to
Okay.
bend them right up.
Yep.
Yep. And then you'll have that arm straight out in front of you.
Yep.
You take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you're just going to sort of draw the bow and arrow. So imagine that's coming back. I want you to get it kind of back up into here, you know.
Okay.
So we're stretching it. Yep. And nothing on your lower back. Reaching forward, breath in, and breathing out as you finish that exercise. So you do about 15 on each side.
That's a good one. And what about the windmill one? How do we
Windmill
go?
one, yep. So finish that one.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. And then you're back to the top, back to the start. Breath in, and then this arm's coming here over your head, pulling the shoulder blade back. It just opens up a little bit higher up between. And you see, as a rugby player, he's stiff in the upper back. So
Definitely.
you did some work.
Too many weights.
Yep.
So we want to bring, as I bring my arm around,
Yep.
do I have to bring it all the way down?
Yeah.
Or
No, this is a good point. We don't want people to stress the front of the shoulder. We don't want them to stress the front of the shoulder. If you just leave the arm out to dry, if it just hangs there, you can put some pressure on the front of the shoulder. So keep the shoulder blade kind of tucked in, and keep the arm a little bit closed at the end. Even with this one, I can still keep it closed, not stressing the front of the shoulder. If you're feeling pain in the front of the shoulder, it's not right. You've got to try and get that stretch between the shoulder blades. If you've got a neck problem, you could use a pillow for some extra support.
That's a good one. I feel it in my chest as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're right, I definitely am stiff.
That's a bit of mobility there.
Yep.
The other thing that I like for people with lower backs is to actually improve their hamstring strength, improve their buttock strength, because we lift with the muscles that move our hips, right? That extend our hips. And the hamstrings and the buttocks are a part of that. So with a Swiss ball, if you don't have a Swiss ball, your feet are up onto a bench or onto a bed, and I'm going to dig my heels into the ball, right? So that's it, that's easy. I'm just going to dig my heels into the ball and hold them. If your back's pretty good and you've got a good movement pattern, you can actually start to work up into a bridge, yeah? But I want to make sure that my back's feeling really safe there, yeah? Which means I want to get that posterior tilt of the pelvis again, yeah? I'm going to keep breathing. I'm looking for stability of the legs too. You can see even I'm wobbling around a little bit. I don't want to see that, because that ain't right. See how I'm pressuring on my back there? I've lost the ball's rolled away.
Not controlled, is it?
I want the hamstrings. Not controlled,
Yeah.
I want the hamstrings to do the job.
Give it a go?
Give it a go. Here we go.
Alright, so two feet on.
Both
So just
feet
want to where
Yep.
my Achilles heel is, do you think?
Yeah, you're pushing right, the bony part of the heel, that's
Yep.
going to dig in. I tend to start people with about like vertical thighs,
Okay.
horizontal shins,
Yep.
and you're digging in first, and as you're lifting your buttocks up, the ball has to roll into you a bit, not
Okay.
away. So it's harder than you think.
Well, that's a cramp already.
Yeah, and it's cramping because they're working hard.
Yeah.
So Liam's probably got pretty good hamstrings, but we can make this hard enough that they're still challenged, you know?
It's still getting something
Yeah.
for
So
everyone.
for your regular person, it's not a bad way to get some hamstrings. It's very easy.
Mm.
It's safe if you do it right. Probably could get Liam to relax his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think, do I dig first and then pull?
Dig
my
first
hips
and
up?
pull and try and get that ball to come in.
I'm shaking, aren't I?
Shake it because it's harder than you think. And you can see where people try and cheat there, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So up first and then bring it in.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a nice one. So you might do 10 lots, just a little roll in and out. So each set takes you about 3 seconds and 10 lots.
That's it.
So
Awesome.
these I give to people as part of a rehabilitation program for their back as well.
Okay.
So this is the prehab, but actually I use all this stuff as rehab as well.
Yeah.
And it's really effective. People have had back pain for years. We get them going on this and we can get them fixed in a number of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's really helpful.
Anything else? Is there
There's so many more
something
things.
more you can do? What about athletes? Is there-
Athletes, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, classic ones for athletes, you know, especially like your rugby players, your swimmers, your surfers. One of the, you know, people can get carried away with doing lots of heavy weights.
Mhm.
So, it's sometimes nice to kind of go back to the light weights and go through the range for the shoulder. So we've got the shoulder joint, we're taking it into the end range. So it's in the end range and we're training strength out of the end range. If you put a heavy weight on and try and train it out of the end range, the joint's just not going to like it.
You're going to do all sorts.
Yeah, and then you start to do these funny things to sort of get the movement done. So, that's a really nice and easy one. So we do some internal rotations with the band there. We can also do that in a more functional position for a thrower, or for someone who takes tackles up here or takes marks up there. So there's that one, that internal rotation of the glenohumeral joint. I'm trying to be really stable with my shoulder blade. The other one which I like is what we call a quasi-isometric. So we're just in the end range and I'm trying to be nice and stable through my core, and I'm bouncing from the shoulder. And I'm even trying to feel, where's my weak point? Where do I need to do a little bit of work and get some strength, where I would not want a heavy weight out here, because I would lose it. So I'm trying to get some strength in that end range where it's nice and safe. This also serves as a good warm-up just before you do your weights as well. Do you want to go there?
And so the general public can do this,
Oh,
these exercises as well,
absolutely,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah.
So what do you want to do in like a lunge position?
Yeah, let's
is it
do that
this?
one. Yeah, so we're going to bring the arm, the humerus up to horizontal.
Yep.
Yeah. Shoulder blade set, and you're going to imagine an axis through here, and you're just going to rotate down to there and up again. Slightly down, up again.
So really stretching out already.
Yeah, so nice opener, gives you a little bit of mobility work for the ball and socket joint, but it's really the strength in the internal rotation.
It's a lot to do with control as well. Like I had a lot of footy guys that just started doing this movement just to get them done.
Yeah.
So we need to really focus our energy on being in control. Is that right?
You're learning a skill as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you're learning a skill, and if you do the skill properly, you'll get the better physical benefits because you are training the end of range. Whereas if you're just kind of muscling it out, you're actually using your trunk or using something else to do the movement. Here we're isolating it to the specific muscles and to the specific joint action that we're after, the specific joint action.
That's it. What was the other one?
It's quasi-isometric. We're going to come up here,
Yep.
and you're just going to bring your shoulder into a safer position. So your hand's going to be in front of the shoulder. So I want that hand in front of the shoulder. I don't like the front of the shoulder open too much. I want that. And you're just going to pulse there. So you can just pulse, pulse, and pulse. And you might find that there's a spot as you're kind of pulsing around here that's a little bit harder to control. So you might spend a bit of time training your weak area. And if you've got a partner, they can confuse
Increase the resistance.
Yeah, confuse it a little bit too. So your shoulder has to adjust to it. So that's it.
And do you want it forward? It's not going too far back.
Yeah, for safety, it's easier. It's probably safer a little bit more forward. But in the end, you do want to train people towards the end of their range. So sort of do that as per the shoulder, as per what we see.
Comes into a bit more of the self-awareness that you were saying.
Self-awareness, correct. Yeah,
Exactly
absolutely.
right.
Self-awareness, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure, man.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down.
Where do we find you?
We're Fluid Physio and Gym in Yamba down at the Raymond Laurie Sports Centre. You can find us online, fluidphysio.com.au, and if you're in the snowfields, check out altitudephysiotherapy.com.au, Threadbow and Falls Creek.
Thank you so much, Simon. It's been a pleasure having you.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Len.
Cheers.